Hello everyone. I have been on a rant about the other topics to a point where I haven't had time to discuss the Western Digital announcement. I'm going to go and fix that now, and I'm going to talk about some other things as well. Okay, so Western Digital announced the Blue SN550 NVMe SSD recently. This means that it'll be a PCI Express SSD, which translates to that it'll be very fast. The blue part translates to that it'll be their budget line. That's how Western Digital works. Blue is their budget, black is performance, and there's a couple things in there, other colors and things, but we're not going to discuss that. So based on what I've seen, they're saying that this will come in at $100 for 1 terabyte. That's a very good price for an NVMe, but I don't think it will take the title of best budget SSD, and here's why. This is the Crucial MX500. It has been for the longest time the best budget SSD. It is a SATA 3, so it's not going to be as fast as the Western Digital, but that does not mean it's down and out. Because it's SATA 3, that means it's easier to clone, and it will work with programs that are designed for SATA-based programming. As such, this means the Western Digital will more than likely be the best budget SSD for gamers and streamers. The Crucial MX500 will remain the best budget for laptop users, office, and niche applications such as security computers. Because this comes in M2 as well as 2.5 inch, this means that it can apply itself to various setups. That's why I'm thinking the things that I just mentioned. But yeah, we'll kind of see where things go, but at this time, based on what I've got in front of me, that's kind of what I'm thinking. These two will share the title of Best Budget SSD for a very long time. I don't think that NVMe will ever replace SATA 3, based on a couple different factors, but that's for another time. So now that we've discussed drives, let's go and move into another announcement, and I see I pulled up the wrong article, but I am aware that MSI is making a 17-inch gaming monitor that's like this. To most people, they'll be thinking, what on earth is this even for? Well, mobile monitors historically have been used as a secondary monitor to laptops. They connect via USB. But in recent years, mobile monitors have started to become useful for very mobile desktop applications. To kind of help show that, I'm going to show you the Silverstone SG13. This is actually a case that I've worked with when making Suitcase Desktops. At least that's what I call them anyways. Essentially, there are desktops that are built so small that they can fit in a suitcase. They will, of course, be a lot stronger than laptops, but it does mean that you'd have to build it and you'd have to know how to do that. You will also be taking a risk with this. I can tell you that most of the baggage handlers at airports do not handle your luggage gently. They will toss it. So that's where the risk comes in. There is always a chance for damage. Even if you put in a bunch of foam or whatnot to protect the components, something will happen eventually. At the end of the day, there's not really much you can do about it. But anyways, so the reason that I select this for the Suitcase Desktop builds is because it's the smallest that I know of that you can go for liquid cooling and an ATX power supply. That will of course be an asterisk due to the fact that certain components that you put into this build may result in it not fully utilizing an ATX power supply in terms of the size. So you have to be careful which ATX power supply you're using, and you also have to be aware of what you're putting into the computer. Or the build, I should say. Assuming that you can do all that just fine, then this will handle almost anything that you need. It fits very large video cards, has no problem with 120mm liquid coolers, and a few other interesting features, but one of the things that makes this able to fit large video cards is due to the fact that it does not allow you to, or I should say does not want you to insert the video card through the side like you would with most cases. Instead, it has a slot here up in the front, and I forget if it's the left or right, but wherever it is, it has a slot so you can shove the video card in through that slot and then get into the case that way. So this is a very, very interesting case, and it certainly works for Suitcase desktops. So assuming that we do all of that, you could make a very mobile build using this. So we'll see where that all goes. One other thing that I really want to talk about before I try to end this recording is Ubuntu. Ubuntu is a distribution of Linux. It's going to require a bit more knowledge to work with than Windows. However, if you can learn it and use it to its full advantage, you will find that Ubuntu has the potential to be one of the best desktops operating systems. If you're just browsing the web, watching Netflix or Hulu, or doing office work, this operating system will handle that. And it will give you a bunch of other cool things to work with. I pulled up this article for a reason. One of the integrations with this is GS Connect. If you have a KDE Connect phone, which is Android, then the Android phone can communicate with the operating system. What that means is that your phone can connect to your computer. I will admit to not liking Linux for the longest time. As a matter of fact, I hate working with it. But the recent versions of Ubuntu have made it a little bit less painful for me, and I've started to do a lot of my browsing through Ubuntu, as well as my office work. What I was referring to a minute ago is what they're trying to show here on the picture. I can receive notifications from my phone on the desktop. It will give me a notification sound pop-up or something like that when I'm typing in a Word document, which is a really cool way of doing things, because now I don't have to pause what I'm doing and look down at my phone. I just simply tab over, check to see what the notification is, and go right back to typing. That's not really something you're going to see on Windows. Last thing I want to discuss is security. Windows is notorious for tracking and security loopholes, as we see with the F-35 program. Yes, I am talking about the F-35 Lightning II, which is the expensive multi-role fighter in current militaries. The F-35 does use Windows as part of its system. That's part of the reason why it's not combat ready, because it has security flaws. However, it's not the only security flaw that you have to worry about. There are ways to track or find people based on your browsing history, pictures, and other things. The great thing about Ubuntu is because it's community operated or updated, means that they have the time to look for those security holes and patch them. it's also just a more secure operating system in general. So if you really, really want to make yourself as secure as possible, then you would do a dual boot system, assuming that you're a gamer. You would make your primary operating system Windows, and then you would create a partition for Ubuntu. Anytime that you know you're going to be browsing, you go to Ubuntu, and you just stay there. If you're going to game, then you come back to Windows. Dual booting does require a restart to switch between operating systems. I don't think that will be an issue, though, given that solid-state drives are more than affordable. So these are some things to think about as we go into the new year, or when you're trying to get a gift for somebody. That's really the most that I have to say. Thanks for listening.